Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is officially July 2021. We have all officially survived an entire year of COVID-19 and quarantining. Hopefully, everyone is getting back to what could be their normal routine or a new norm that has been created through this pandemic. In this video, we will be discussing what I've termed the 5U, meaning you, the person, or the 5 selves. So, as we have been going through this spiritual journey, you have probably gone through the stages of what's going on, WTF, to, okay, I got this, to, am I dead? To now I'm just wakening up or re-enlightening myself, to back WTF. So this video is in the space of WTF, what is really going on. So it was in the middle of the night. To give you a brief background of this video, it was in the middle of the night. I had just experienced a very traumatic experience in my life, and it involved myself and my 2 children. And if you guys have heard any of my previous recordings, I have 2 children, one who is very young and one who's a teenager. And upon thinking about myself, I realized I was in a space where I didn't want to be. Even though I feel like I am succeeding at my spiritual journey and getting closer and closer to my spiritual enlightenment or awakening, full awakening, I realized I'd taken a few steps back. And that was through the engaging with other beings, other people, which helped me to come to the conclusion of the 5 selves, the 5 me's, the 5 you's, the 5 I's. And they are pretty much your first self, which is your authentic self. This is the self that was created and born of your parents, right? Your second self, which is your societal self. Your public self, which is the one that is born of society. Then you have your third self, which is the closed self, which is your closed chakras. This self is born from traumas of childhood and throughout life. Then you have your fourth self, which is your imbalanced self, your imbalanced chakras. And this self is born from the acceptance of the traumas of your childhood and life as a part of your actual life experience or journey. And then you have your fifth self, which is where we're all walking towards, which is your balanced self, your spiritual awakened or spiritually enlightened self, which is pretty much born from the growth, detachment of the traumas, and the continuance of your spiritual path. So let's rewind and go back to your first self. Your first self being your authentic self. That is the you that is unattached to this world. That is the most innocent version of you. That you probably existed from creation, between the connection of your parents up until your first engagement with society, if that makes sense. That you is every piece of fantasy that your parents ever had regarding to who you are, who you will become, and who you were born to be. That authentic self is the you that God, the creator, the universe, whatever you call the being that is overlooking all of this, that is the you that being put on this planet. That is the spiritually enlightened you. That is the consciously enlightened you. That is the you that will return once you've gone through everything you need to go through and become one with yourself again. That you is the you that laughs the most, that cries the most, that understands the most, that protects you the most. Most of us have detach from that version of ourselves only because we've gone through the other three stages of self. And some of us really get stuck in those other stages, believing that that's us. This leads me into speaking about the second self, which is the societal self, your public self. Now that one was created from, I would account for, because I come from another country, I can only account for like school age and beyond. That one is born from your societal interactions with reality. That one is the one that is told it's Caucasian, it's black, it's a girl, it's a boy, it's your identity self. Some people might even call it your ego, but I don't call it your ego, only because if you really understand yourself, not the world around you, but you, the individual within the world, you will understand that your public self and your ego are two different things. Your ego is the false perception of who you are, the front, in other words, that you put on in the world to protect yourself. No, this societal self, this public self, is created by society. If any of you who are listening right now have ever heard any of my previous recordings, I'll do my best to link it. I can't remember which exact video, where I speak about coming from a different culture, a different country, which at that age of 6 seemed like I came from a different world. When I came to America and I started witnessing and engaging with other people who look like me, which are the African Americans of this country, and our mental, spiritual, and emotional states were so different that it was kind of like a cultural shock for me. Their public selves and my public selves were not in alignment. In other words, it had nothing to do with ego, because once we got to know each other, our egos got along well. But even then, there were still like public or societal norms that they'd attach to themselves in their life experience at very young ages, by the way, that I just was not allowing to attach to me, because it literally had nothing to do with my life experience. For example, one of the biggest experiences of being a child of the 90s and being raised in the 90s was literally the experience of being a darker hued young lady, or aka a dark skinned girl, right? In America, the norm was to make fun of or mock those who are of darker hue. Like there was even, like, I remember being so ignorant of this culture when I entered high school and we were joining like the sorority of our high school. It was like the little sister sororities of the high school, which when you would go to college, you would join the formal sororities, right? And the one I wanted to join, I remember so many of the girls there saying, like, why would you join that one when that one correlates to the lighter tone girls, the prettier girls? And I was just taken back, like, what does that even mean? Am I not pretty? Like, what are you talking about? And when I was thinking about your public self, your societal self, those are the experiences in life that came up in my mind and made me laugh in a way, because I still laugh at those experiences because they, in all honesty, never had an effect on me. Another form of societal or public self is when you're in grade school, you're automatically taught that black people are the dumb ones of society and white people are the intelligent ones. That does something to a child's psychology, which forces you to accept those as norms. And that, if anyone who's listening has ever had these experiences, that is what creates the bullying amongst black people. Like, if you remember the names that these children would call each other, the way they would mock each other and hurt each other's feelings, and in their culture, that was social norm. Like, you had thick skin if you can take all of that nonsense from someone else, versus my culture, where in order to build thick skin is through intelligence. Like, we we jab and we dig at each other, but it's done in a more like, it's not done on such a primitive scale of how you look, the style of your hair, the color of your skin. It's more done like in a form of sarcastic humor, if that makes sense. So when you're thinking about your societal self, think about who you are when you wake up who you think you are when you wake up in the morning. You understand? Like when you wake up in the morning, are you the doctor? Are you the strong black woman entrepreneur who's about to go conquer the world? Like, what terms do you use to describe who you are in this societal world? That's your societal self. That has nothing to do with your ego. Like, are you, in other words, like an AKA sister who does whatever AKA sisters do? You understand what I'm saying? Like, are you one of those prescribed people? Are you one of those scripted people in your life experiences? Have you been living a script and you are so unaware that you've been living a script? You know how in certain families you'll have where for four, 5, 6 generations, everyone has been doctors, everyone has gone to the same school, everyone is an alumni of this school, everyone has graduated alma mater, everyone has had this specific life experience. Are you one of those people that have lived nothing but a scripted role? And how do you get yourself out of that scripted role as you're developing your spiritual enlightenment, right? That leads us into the third self, which is the closed self. That's your closed chakras. Based on your societal or public self, which goes anywhere from the age of 4 until about the age of 10 or 12, depending on who you are. By the time you're 10 or 12, you have a pretty concrete idea of who you are, right? And with that concrete idea of who you are, you then either have open or closed chakras, energy centers. And if you have closed chakras, these are born from the traumas of your childhood and your life. And by traumas, I simply mean these experiences that you have that are not normal experiences for everyone to have, you know? These experiences that you have that everyone don't share, in other words. For example, like I stated before, the entire idea of because you're a little dark-skinned chocolate girl, you're supposed to see yourself as being less pretty or less attractive than the next girl sitting next to you, when in all actuality, you could be more attractive than that one. Those experiences will close your energy centers. For example, if you run through the 7 chakras, your base chakra, being raised poor closes your base chakra. Having too much emotional trauma or having too much emotions in your home closes your chakras, because your chakras close in a form of protection for you, if that makes sense. Or always having to have pressure, family pressure or societal pressure put on you. Those close your chakras. Those are traumas that are closing your chakras, right? Traumas are abnormal experiences that we tolerate or we experience because we have no control over what's going on around us, right? Now, how do you deal with your closed chakras? First of all, you have to realize and understand and acknowledge that your chakras are closed. How would you know that your chakras are closed? You are experiencing an inversion of life, meaning you can never keep money. You're always fighting with those you love the most. You always have a need to overexpress yourself and feel the most important in the room. You lack love, or it's hard for you to keep your loved ones around. When you speak, you are either exaggerating the stuff that you say or you're lying about the stuff that you say. As you can see, I'm going up the chakras, right? You can't see life for what it is. Like, regardless if you're in a good or a bad situation, you just can't see clearly for what it is. You can't see things for what it is. That's your third eye that's closed. And then once your third eye is closed, then your crown is like, you know. So that leads us to the imbalanced self, the imbalanced chakras. Now, if your chakras are closed long enough, as your body and your energies naturally evolve and grow, your chakras begin to open. Now, when they're opening, they will either open balance or imbalance. Certain examples of an imbalanced chakra is similar to the closed chakras, except it's either exaggerated or it's flatlined. You understand? Like when your chakras are imbalanced, like I'll take you, for example, in the heart center. If you have an imbalanced heart chakra, you become overtly sensitive or cold as ice. Those are your two options. Like you're either oversensitive where anything anyone says to you makes you cry, or you're cold as ice. Like no one can break through your wall. Like your wall is so high and so thick and so strong that no one can break through it. Now, when you are living in that imbalanced self or imbalanced chakra, you are only living there because you experience all these traumas throughout your life. And for one reason or another, you've caused yourself to accept those traumas as a part of life. And how have you caused yourself to accept those traumas? One, that I've realized in my own family and personal life, repeating the stories of trauma. The more you repeat the stories of trauma is the more you're accepting trauma as being a standard in your life. Oh my God, when I was 6, this happened to me, and it's not a fun story to say over and over again. Like each time you tell that story, people react like, oh my God, or oh, you're literally reliving that trauma, and you're subconsciously accepting that trauma as a part of your life experience, as a life experience norm. And what you're doing is you're continuously reliving in that imbalanced state of existence. And that does not help at all, because the longer you live in that imbalanced self is the longer it will take you to reach balance and to reach spiritual enlightenment and spiritual awakening, which is the 5th self. How do you reach a balanced self or a balance or a spiritual enlightenment or spiritual awakening? First, you have to grow up. That is easier said than done. You have to grow up. You have to understand that depending on you and your life and the generations before you, including your parents and their parents and your ancestors and your aunts and uncles and cousins and family members and trace of friends and enemies, you have made decisions that have been detrimental to your life. So that requires growing from those decisions. An example of that would be someone who was raised in a rough background, who always literally had to physically fight, ball their fist and hit someone just to survive, just to be themselves. You understand? When you become an adult, we see this every day on television with the reality TVs. These people have all the money in the world. They have all the luxury of time and space. And yet when they come together, they somehow start arguing with each other about God knows what. And before you know it, a fist is thrown, a drink is thrown, a chair is thrown, something is done in a violent way to do harm to the other. Those are people who are living in an imbalanced chakra, in an imbalanced self-existence. You understand? So the first step to balancing yourself is growth. Get out of that frequency. Get out of that state of existence. You have to tell yourself it's unacceptable. I do not accept this part of me, and I don't hate you, this part of me. I'm going to work with you, and we're going to grow and become exactly what we were born to be. And it takes work. It takes effort. It takes the understanding that you're doing the work and those around you may not be doing the same work that you're doing. So there may be so many triggers around you. You understand? There may be so many triggers. There may be so many. You might think, you know how we've all done this test. You know how on the highway you'll think of, man, I love the black Mercedes X6. And then for that day, everywhere you go, you see a BMW X6. Everywhere you go, you see this black BMW X6. And you're like, that didn't happen yesterday. That's the kind of reaction you're going to have once you start doing this work. Once you start working on yourself and working on growth, I'm going to grow out of this. A lot of times when it comes to the closed or imbalanced chakra selves, we call those generational curses. And in all reality, they're not generational curses. They're just generational choices that we've made. You understand what I'm saying? For example, you'll have the teen mom phenomenon. For 4 generations, the matriarch of your family has been giving birth at 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. You understand? Now you yourself being the 3rd or 4th generation, you find yourself pregnant at 17. That's not a curse. That is literally a decision. You understand? If you take that time to take care of yourself, to hone yourself, to take your energy within your own hands and say, this is my life and I'm going to live it the way that I deem right. My mother had me when she was 17. I'm not going to date until I leave college. How can you get pregnant at 17? You understand? That's not a generational curse. That's something that you literally have control over. You can change that decision pattern that's been done in your family for eons. You understand? So the first step is growth. The second step is literally detachment. And that is not something that you're going to think about. Once yourself realize, man, I'm closed off from who I am, you start opening up. Now the traumas are still there. So now the traumas are causing your energy centers to go out of whack, out of balance. So now you start balancing yourself. Then you start the growth process. Now, once you have really gotten into that growth process, and the growth process will change the way you talk, what you eat, what you wear, everything about you will change. Because remember, before you were living like a walking zombie. You were literally doing, speaking, making decisions based on those around you who came before you, right? So once you've gone through the growth process, yourself will naturally detach from those traumas. Those traumas, 1, they existed, they happened, right? 2, you can't change them because we are in the future and those traumas happened in the past. And 3, you now have the ability to change the future. You can change your future self, starting with this initial decision that you're making. Now, once you detach, you start re-engaging properly with your spiritual path. And you realize the spiritual path is not some magical pill that you drink. It's not a red red or blue pill. It's not a red pill, now you're awakened and you're Neo in the Matrix. And it's not a blue pill, you're still asleep and you're just walking dead around the planet. No, your spiritual path is you accepting that everything that you do from this point on is your responsibility. Simply as that. Your happiness is in your hand. Your financial stability is in your hand. The people you engage with are in your hand. The arguments you have are in your hand. Even the man or woman that you marry, the children you bear, how you rear these children is all in your hands. Before, you could have blamed it on your parents' upbringing, your religious background, your life experience. But once you've really gone through all the steps and acknowledge who you are and where you are in your life, and you're willing and able to change those patterns that you've been practicing, you then realize, my gosh, this is beautiful. I get to wake up every day and be me. You know, I've always loved such and such. I'm going to do that. You understand? Like, you take your life into your hand. It's like, my mind is like, it's like running your own business. It's literally like you're the CEO of your life, and every decision you make is neither good nor bad. Every decision you make is for the profit or loss of your life. If you make the decision to date the wrong guy and your relationship heads down a path that you don't like, you made that decision. It's a loss. You didn't profit from that decision. That's how you have to look at your life. Now, the more you practice this balanced practice, the more you become spiritually awakened. And the more spiritually awakened you become, the more spiritually enlightened you become. And believe you me, your life is a reflection of your decisions. As you make these decisions and you change your life and you change everything about you, those around you who have denied you, who have questioned your motive and questioned your decision making, they themselves will start asking you, hey, what, are you working out? Like, did you cut your hair? Did you have a makeover? What's going on? Like, just something about you. I just can't put my finger on it, but it's something so different about you. And then that's when you can actually start including the people around you into the same path that you've gone through. And believe you me, if everyone practiced this on it's a personal thing. It's about you. It's very isolating and it's very lonely at times. It's about you. If you guys have been listening to me long enough, you know I do not sugarcoat anything. It is about you. It is about you, and it is about accepting everything about you. And once you've done that and you grow and you detach and you and you live in your spiritual path, you realign with your authentic self. Your authentic self now is working with your balanced self, and they are engaging. And now your societal self, your public self, is the self that you've always been born to be. You will realize so many amazing things in your life if you just invest in yourself. And investing in yourself is not a new outfit, getting your nails done, buying a new lace front wig, or getting some makeup. It's not that. Investing in yourself is internal. It's personal. It's a lot of work. It's so much work. But I swear I was about to say something else. I swear, once you actually do the work and invest the time and effort, you'll be so surprised to who you were really born to be. And you'll be so proud of yourself. And guess what? You will have made the decisions that you need to make to live a wonderful life. You will have been able to create something that maybe generationally, others in your timeline, others in your ancestry timeline have been attempting to succeed at, but could not succeed. You understand what I'm saying? You listening to this recording right now might not even be a surprise, because once you've done the work and you're able to sit and talk with your parents or your relatives or friends or family members, you'll find out, oh yeah, your great grandmother or your uncle or your aunt or your cousin, they too took this path, and this was the outcome of the path that the decisions that they made. So don't give up on yourself. Like, keep going. I'm not painting a fantasy or fairy tale picture. There is no Prince Charming in spiritual enlightenment. Spiritual enlightenment is a very personal decision. It's not like a religious decision to say, I'm going to start going to church and believe in Jesus. Like, if you make the religious decision to go to church and believe in Jesus, you have a group of people around you who share the same common interests. You have your prayer group, your Bible study group, your choir group. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's a support system around you that are under the same influence of believing in Jesus and doing the Jesus thing. But when you make the decision that I was born alone and I've experienced a lot in my life and I want to know why. Oh my God. If I could tell you guys the why, you will, well, it depends on who you are. It depends on who you are. When you get to the why have I experienced this stuff in my life, you will either laugh or cry. It's one or the other. It will either be humorous or it will be such a satire story that you will cry. Like, oh my God, I experienced all of this because pop, 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 pop. Or literally, I experienced all of this because I was on autopilot and there's actually no real relevant reason for any of the stuff that has ever happened to me to have happened to me. That will either make you laugh or cry. Because when we're born in this world and we're children, it doesn't matter if you were born with a golden, diamond encrusted spoon in your mouth. We all have something that we're carrying on our shoulders. And a lot of time, and I'm going to end this real soon, a lot of times we put in our minds, if I was born richer, this would not happen to me. Or if I was born in a different body, this would not happen to me. When in actuality, depending on who you're born from, we're all on autopilot. And when we're all on autopilot, you're living a scripted life story. The life story is being told for you. And it goes back to your public societal self. You're born of wealthy parents, then the script is already written out there for you. You're born of middle class parents, conservative parents, religious parents, impoverished parents. The script is there. The basic script is there. It's up to you to step out of the script and look at yourself and say, okay, I was born in this situation, but I've always known I am this, and I'm going to work on being exactly what I know I am. And I can guarantee you, once you do the work and once you really hone in on who you are and what you were born to be, you will change not only your life, but the lives of people around you. I'm going to end it there. I wish all of you the best of luck. Trust me, it's not easy, but it is possible. It is possible. You can go from A to Z. It is quite possible. But remember, from A to Z, there's 26 letters. So there's 26 levels that you will have to take. And each one, because you're working on yourself, each one is more tough than the one before. So it doesn't matter if you are a 17-year-old listening to this, questioning, what do I do with my life? Or if you're a 30, 40, or even 80-year-old. It's never too late to work on ourselves. And I will tell you the truth, the older you are, the easier it is, because you're not attached to the societal norms. You understand? Like the more you've lived in this world, it doesn't matter what place you are in this world, but the more you've lived, the less you really care about what society thinks about you. So start somewhere and don't give up. It's like a workout plan or a diet plan. You don't know the results until you get there. So don't give up, all right? So I wish you all the best. I will do my best to record some more, but I just had to drop that one out there and just let you guys know. Just keep going. Don't give up. You're your best asset, and no one and nothing can ever take from you what God has already blessed you with, all right? Have a great July. Happy 4th, and enjoy your summer.